To start off, I want to get a feel for where we are as an audience. So, by show of hands, how many of us have a social media account? That could be anything. Wow, okay. How many of us have that account on our phone? All right. How many of you have checked that today? Okay. How many of you have checked it within the past hour? Okay. Be honest, how many of you have checked it while you've been in this room? Oh. What is it about social media that makes us go back to it so often? Nokia actually did a study on this. They said on average, Americans check their phones about 150 times a day. That's once every 6 minutes while you're awake. Now it gets even worse for the millennial generation. On average, we, 18 to 29 years old, spend about 2 hours a day on social media. Now that's average, but I did the math and I'm probably about there. I want to talk today about the price that this is costing us. Now social media is free, but it's costing us a lot of things, not just time. One of the things that it changes in us is the way we process information. Researchers have begun to call this something called social gluttony. Basically, the idea is that we present so much information, relevant and not relevant, to our brains that our brain can't process it. Think of it like the all-you-can-eat buffet at the Bellagio. Now, all amazing food, 5-star food, but after an hour, what are you doing? You're on plate 4, salad bar's gone, you're disobeying the last speech, you've got the sugar plate with the eclairs, French toast, the syrup's kind of getting on everything on accident. And it's delicious, but your body's not going to be able to process any of this. The same thing happens with information. After a while, our brain gets trained to not interact critically with anything that we put in front of it. This has been linked by researchers to things like ADD, ADHD in our generation. Another thing that social media affects is actually the way we socialize. Social media is a social placebo. What it does is, when we interact in a social interaction, whether that's face-to-face or in a group setting, our brain releases a chemical called dopamine. That makes us happy, it makes us feel fulfilled, it's good. Now when we interact online, when we share information about ourselves online, our brain actually triggers the same chemical, dopamine. It makes our brain thinks that we're interacting socially, but online we don't get the same benefits that we get through face-to-face interaction, like friendship, a feeling of community, a feeling of completeness, of togetherness. Now, this is an issue. Has anybody ever felt completely alone, like just so alone, so miserable, but at the same time felt no desire to reach out to anybody? You just kind of want to sit in your own pity party? That's one of the emotional imbalances that this can have on us. President Uchtdorf, in October 2012, actually talked about this. First, he condoned social media, and I'm not against social media. I get on Facebook a lot. I raise my hand on that, check it every day. But he said, how much time are we willing to spend on it? He says he doesn't think we're headed the right way as individuals or as society. If the main way we connect with the people that are important to us is through forwarding a video or some link to something online. He says that we run a great risk of losing valuable connections. I want to share a story, and I acknowledge that this is an extreme case, but I want to share a story about somebody named Yvette Vickers. She was a B-list movie star in the 1950s, 1960s. Anybody here seen The Attack of the 50-Foot Woman? Yeah? Nobody over here. She passed away in 2010, but nobody has an exact date for that. It's because she was found in 2011 by her neighbor. Her neighbor saw mail piling up out front, went in and checked and found her upstairs alone, with a space heater and her computer still on. The best guess is she was alone for 8 months to a year, and nobody noticed that she was missing. The ironic thing about this is that she had an avid following on social media. Her Facebook account blew up when they found out that she passed away. She'd been getting regular fan mail, but none of these connections meant anything. In the end, they were nothing. She had sucked in the social placebo that is social media. Now, I'm not saying that if we overindulge in social media that we're all going to end up dead in our houses. But I am drawing attention to the big issue that this is causing in our society. And I want to invite us all to take some steps to ensure that these negative impacts don't overindulge in our lives. One thing I want to invite you to do, and this is going to be a bold invitation, is to delete social media from your phone. Now, you can keep Snapchat. I know that's tough for some people. But do your best to limit those social media accounts, because on your phone, how easy is it? You're walking down the street and you got that awkward, and it's like, oh, I know him, I don't want to look at him. You just pull it out. It's too easy. If we delete it from our phones, that temptation's gone. We interact with it, we still use social media, but it's limited. Another thing we can do, if you're not ready for that, is turn off push notifications. That way you interact with social media, whatever it is, Facebook, Instagram, when you want to, and not when your phone decides that it's time to get on Facebook. And the last thing I want to invite you to do is actually from a devotional about 3 years ago, from a guy named Ryan Holmes. What he invited us to do is every day, take a little bit of digital quiet time. It doesn't have to be all day, but just take time to unplug and to interact face-to-face with real people. I know that if we do this, social media will still be a tool that we use in our lives, but we will be using it and not the other way around. Thank you.